Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, we're here in Parshas Mikeitz, and Parshas Mikeitz, such an exciting parsha. This is it's incredible. So Yosef goes from rags to riches. He comes out of the bore, and within a matter of moments, he becomes the viceroy of Egypt. And then starts the drama with his brothers. His brothers come down to buy food. If you look in the Midrashim, it says that they actually came looking for Yosef. They spread out around the city looking for him. And then finally, they are standing right in front of Yosef, and they just don't recognize him. Pasuk says clearly, Yosef recognizes his brothers, and they don't recognize Yosef. And what happens afterwards is so interesting, because Yosef decides to play this little game with them, pretending that he has nothing to do with them and accusing them of things that have no basis in them, to the point where he throws them in jail. And in the end, kind of like a funny thing, if you believe they're all a bunch of spies, why would you let them all go? Except for one, in order to go get your brother. The whole thing is so funny. This really comes to a head the second time they come back. They come back to Yosef, bringing Binyamin with them. And they are coming to Yosef's house. This is very, very odd. Even they recognize that this is odd. Nobody else, when they come to buy food, stays at the viceroy's house. They're coming into Yosef's house. Now, you can imagine for a second, what did Yosef's house look like? Well, I don't know. I don't know if Yosef had a mezuzah. Maybe Yosef had a mezuzah. That would have been kind of weird, right? Brothers walking in, why is there a mezuzah here? Okay, but maybe Yosef didn't have a mezuzah. But do you think that Yosef's house looked like everybody else's house in Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim was full of avodah zarah and gilui arayos. That's what it was. You think Yosef's house looked like that? The house that Menashe and Ephraim, two of the Shvatim, grew up in, looked like a regular house in Mitzrayim? Certainly, he was the viceroy of Egypt. It was very opulent. There was a lot of fanciness over here. But this was Yosef's house. This is a house of Torah and Avodas Hashem and Yiras Shamayim. That's what it was. It wasn't a regular Egyptian house. They're coming into this house. They should have seen, obviously, that something is different over here. This is not regular. And what makes this even more, this story even stranger, is that Yosef decides he's going to have a meal with them. Not only does he say that not only tells them that he's going to have a meal with them, but he actually tells each of the brothers where to sit. He takes out his cup. Pasuk says, actually, he placed them in age order. Rashi here, on Pasuk Lamed Gimel, says that he banged on his cup as if he was some kind of magician. And he called out by name each one of his brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun. You are all the sons of the same mother in that order of birth. That's how you will sit. And the Pasuk even says, the brothers couldn't believe it. The brothers looking at each other, how in the world does he know this? How does this man know that? You look earlier in the Parsha, a little bit before that, when discussing the situation with their father, Yaakov asked them, why did you tell this man that you had another brother? And what did they say back? Rashi explains there that they said back, it wasn't our fault. He kept asking us very pointed questions. He wanted to know, you have a father? How's he doing? You have another brother. Where is he? He was asking very pointed questions to the point where he was able to tell them the type of wood they had for their cribs when they were babies. How in the world could somebody possibly know that? And why did Yosef do this? Why did Yosef play this whole game with them? What was Yosef trying to get out of this? I'd like to suggest a novel approach. What I believe that Yosef was trying to do was Yosef was trying to leave some hints for his brothers to say to his brothers, you know what? It's me. Look at me. You don't recognize me, but it's really me. And I'm going to give you some hints. And as things moved along, the hints became more and more and more obvious. Don't you recognize me? I'm your brother. And if you don't recognize me, I'm going to throw some hints at you. I know your names. I know your birth order. I know who your mother is. I even know the type of wood in your cribs. I know everything about you. If you look at the Midrashim in next week's Parshas Vayigash, it goes even more extreme. Yosef starts telling the brothers things that it's impossible for anybody to know. Things that happened to them in the past. How could anybody know this? Yosef did this because he wanted the brothers to figure out that it was him. He wanted them to come to the realization the only person who could possibly know this is Yosef. The Medrash even says that in the showdown next week between Yehuda and Yosef, when Yehuda is ready to destroy Mitzrayim, maybe we'll talk about that next week, we'll see. Yehuda got a smack from, I don't remember, it was either Ephraim or Menashe. And he was shocked. He said, that wasn't a regular smack. That was me base Abba. That was something that was coming from our father. There's something not normal over here. This man that we're facing has a spiritual power that's equal to us. The brothers realized that. What is going on over here? They were facing an opponent that was just as worthy as they were. And yet they couldn't figure out that this was actually Yosef. Why did Yosef want them to figure this out? Why couldn't they figure it out? So I humbly suggest the reason that Yosef wanted them to figure this out is because Yosef felt the only way for them to truly have teshuva, do teshuva for what they did for selling him, the only real way that this could be a complete teshuva is for them to come to that complete understanding that not only did they make a mistake, they were being cruel by selling their brother. They weren't merciful by selling their brother, and it was a wrong thing to do. That wasn't enough. They needed to come to the recognition that maybe they were wrong even from before that. They were wrong about the way they judged Yosef, about his dreams. That really, you know what? We should have believed in our brother. We should have believed in Yosef. We should have seen his greatness. We should have believed he could become great. That's what brothers have to do for each other. Not to be jealous of each other, to encourage each other. See, you have greatness, you can do it. You can be that person. Yosef wanted the brothers to come to that realization on their own. We made a terrible mistake. And it's possible. It's possible that our brother actually became that king that he had dreamed about all those years ago. And that's what Yosef was trying to do. Yosef was showing the brothers, it's me. Don't you recognize me? You don't recognize me? Well, I'll give you some hints. I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you things that it's impossible for anybody else to know. It's totally impossible. Could only be me. Recognize me. See me. But the brothers couldn't do it. Yes, they defended Binyamin in next week's Parsha, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't recognize, they couldn't see that it was potentially possible until Yosef himself gave himself away. They couldn't see it. Sometimes in life, we see things about people, maybe even in our own children, and they've got koichos. And we see that. Do we see the greatness in it? Do we see, wow, that kid, so wild, that ADHD kid, wow, oh my God, he has so much potential. There's such greatness in there. When are we going to get to see it? And what's so interesting is that that's actually what happened in the very beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, where Yosef told over the dreams to his brothers, and his brothers were very angry. And when he told it over to his father gave him to a chacha. Why are you causing problems for? Why are you doing this to your brothers? But then the pasuk says that when his father heard it, he kept it to himself. It says, "Va'aviv shamar et hadavar." His father said, oh, wait a second. There's some greatness over here. He held on to it. He saw, wait a second. These dreams are something. Yosef really does have the potential. Yosef really does have that koyach in him. When's it going to be? I don't know. But I see that it's true. If the brothers would have had that approach, also he's young, he's a kid, but there's potential here. He's great. He's not trying to force us out. But there's a certain greatness that would have changed the whole story. The approach of the brothers would have been completely different. That's what Yosef wanted. Do teshuva. Do teshuva means undo all of your thought process, even from before you sold me. The reason why you sold me is because you thought I was a threat to you. But really, this greatness was inherent in me, and if we would have built it together, if you would recognize who I was, then none of this would have happened. And that's what Yosef wanted. He wanted his brothers to do a complete teshuva, so that Klal Yisrael wouldn't have to pay for this in the future. Okay, Be'ez Hashem, hopefully next week we'll talk about the hemshech of this story. Shkoyach.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.